But
Because they do the initial lab.
I thought it was going to be raining, to be honest,
Yeah.
when this came up, but
7 o'clock, I call meeting to order. Please join me in I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Benson.
Here.
Trustee Gunther. Pro Tem Jackson.
Here.
Trustee Mead.
Present.
Trustee Pelfrey.
Here.
Trustee Varian.
Here.
President Elmore.
Here. Next item on the agenda, public comments. If there's anyone who has any public comments, go ahead, Tom. Can you come to the podium, please?
I don't feel I got bad foot. I'll
Okay,
walk
okay.
more than
Then you stay over here.
I walk no more
That's
than I
fine.
have to.
That's fine.
About three and a half years ago, Ollie, when it's going on about radar, you did not want the village to be known as a speed trap. Came out of your mouth in meeting. The speed in this village is terrible. Down my road, it is terrible. And we got radar, not going down by school. I mean, the school, but you need them in a police car riding around with it. You go through your police report, look at the speeding stuff you have on there. You don't have it. That's my complaint.
Any other public comments? Go ahead, Tom.
Just this one important one, housing federal prisoners, we always do have some because there's, they don't have enough beds. And we can, rent space to, 15 of them, 10 men and 5 women, and they're gonna change the reimbursement from $36 to $48. We're gonna be starting that soon. That's it.
Thank you, Don. Okay, next item on the agenda, we have a consent agenda, additions or deletions to the agenda. Any additions or deletions? No? There's no additions to the, or deletions. I need a motion for approval of the agenda, for consent agenda, which is approval of the agenda as is. Minutes from the March 1st, 2021 regular meeting, bills on a total of $122,466.50. Motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Jackson, need a second?
I'll second that.
Trustee Mead, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item on the agenda is correspondence on Credit Union.
yeah, so this email came from Jamie with Honor. It was to Chief Vanderwood. She says, "Good afternoon. Wanted to reach out and say thank you again for taking the time to be part of our robbery training. We really appreciate all that you guys do to support us. We were able to watch that video this morning. I have forwarded the link to the video to the other managers to share with their teams. It really is a great video to watch, and remember to always be alert. Thanks again, Jamie."
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is officers' reports. Officer reports, which is village attorney report, DPW report, chief police report, clerk treasurer report, and village manager's report. Any questions from the council on any of these reports? If there's any questions, no questions, anybody, you want to add to me, talk about anything?
Yeah, just a couple things real quick.
Summarize.
I didn't have it in my report, but I just talked to them Friday and today, but MDOT confirmed for me that they will be doing work on M51 from the north side all the way to the south side for 2022. There's a number of different things that they're gonna be doing. The resurfacing of the roads is a big one. They're gonna be making all of the sidewalk ramp approaches ADA accessible, so that'll be a big help for some members of our community. And then there's going to be making some adjustments to, I think, the way the drainage works. I think we've had some complaints from people about hitting some of those with the cars and things. So they said they've heard that, and they're gonna be incorporating that as well. I think what they're planning to do is to get kind of a final plan together and then put like a newsletter together that we can send out to everybody or post to website, things like that, so people can kind of see what's gonna be happening there. So that's exciting. I know a lot of people have been looking forward to that repair. I'm gonna pass around a form here. Chief did this for us. kind of what this all started from was we participated in the statewide tornado drill, and we practiced here at the village as well. And after we did that, we realized that it was a good time to update our emergency guide for staff. So we created a packet there. So basically, you can kind of flip to different scenarios. So whether it's, you know, a weather-related issue or a weapon or an active shooter situation or something, that will actually give you a quick guide as to here's what you need to do, here's the procedure you need to follow, etc. So all of our staff will be getting that. When we'll also be working with Public Works to adapt that to fit the public workshop as well. Tax options, I'll touch on that real quick. I had it in the report, but we are exploring some different ways we might be able to approach taxes. So right now, the way taxes work is that the village collects those from July 1st through September 15th, or if it's I think if that's a business day, otherwise it's the next business day. And then at that point, we turn those taxes over to the county, and then they are responsible for collections from that point up until, I believe it's March 15th, when taxes become, you know, fully delinquent. With legislation that was passed last year, there's some options where the village can actually continue to pursue those collections themselves instead of turning that over to the county. So one of the nice things about something like that is that people don't have to go, well, now where do I pay? You know, we can actually take all that right here at the village, even if it's November 15th. So basically, if you owe taxes to the village, you pay them at the village. So, you know, I think there's some benefits that could come from that. The other nice thing is that once we turn things over to the county, our tax database here isn't updated anymore because we're not doing the collection. So if somebody has a question for Kim or me or Evelyn, hey, can you tell me if my taxes are paid or something? Well, when did you pay them? Well, I just paid the county. You know, at that point, we really don't have any information about it. So I think there's some benefits there too. On the flip side, we're going to meet with Caitlin with the township later this month. The other option we could look at is you can combine taxes for the township and the village into one bill. And then the township could potentially collect all the taxes. And then, you know, so there's a couple advantages there to where, you know, you don't have two different bills you're paying. There's one entity where you go to pay the bill. You know, I'm not quite sure what the options are for that and what that looks like. With the village, I know we have options for online payments. We're here every day. You know, so we'll kind of weigh those. Either way, if we make a change, there'd be a resolution that would come to you guys. So we'll probably look to do that. My guess would be the May meeting if we were going to propose something, and then you guys can review that and see what you think. And I guess the last thing I'll touch on real quick is, you know, we've talked about tablets for council members and things like that for a while. We're looking at doing that now with the Surface Go tablets. I'm working with IT Right to see what that would look like and how we can manage those. It's a little easier than working with the iPad, so they're going to get me a quote, and we're going to look at that, and we'll probably have that on for the May or June meeting. So basically, you guys would have access to our agenda software, email systems, you know, things like that in an easy way. And then the other thing we worked on recently, we haven't had it go quite live just yet. We're still testing it, but we're moving from having all of our files kind of stored in our server downstairs to moving them into SharePoint with our Office 365 service. So the nice thing is you can actually get to those from anywhere. So if I take my laptop home and I wanted to work on a document or something like that, you know, the same would apply to Kim, Evelyn, etc. We have a really easy way to be able to do that without even having to use the VPN to get into the village. So we're excited about that. It actually keeps everything all updated. There's a backup system that's involved with it. So I know it's probably not the most exciting topic for you guys, but I'm looking forward to it. I think that's it.
The tax issue.
Yes.
Talk about it. I think the most practical way, the way I see it, is for us to do it.
Yep.
You know, you get a treasurer here. I mean, I talked to Kim about it. She's ready to do it. She, you know, but this is my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should take care of our own taxes all the way. You know, so I know you said you want to talk to the township. What other? No, I think we should just leave it.
I think I agree, because I did notice that with the change in the township treasurer, the availability is not there. You know, there might have been one day that she was actually there taking taxes, so I think from a convenience standpoint, we have people that don't go online and don't like to go online to pay taxes. They like to come in with cash, so I think we need to make sure that we're available for that.
We got all the tools we need for that. So.
Sure.
That's my opinion, and we discussed this further.
No, and I think, the idea was just to kind of see what ideas there were. We hadn't really talked that much.
That's what I think we should do.
Okay.
That's up to the council, we can discuss it some more.
I tend to agree too.
Unfinished business, the next item is parental leave policy.
So, we talked about this last month. You guys gave quite a bit of great feedback as to what we wanted to see with the policy, and trying to clean it up a little bit, simplify things, eliminate redundancy, so we have done that. I didn't know it would be possible, but we did get it down to one page. That's what everybody wanted to see, so we got that all squared away. But we were able to make sure that it effectively touched on all the important pieces. Any restrictions or uses and things like that were all included there as well too, and as well as the references to FMLA and things like that. So makes it very simple for everybody to see how it works. And
Any questions from the council? Okay. If there's no questions, I need a motion to approve the parental leave policy as presented.
I will make that motion to approve the parental leave policy as presented.
Steve Guerrero, need a second?
I'll second that.
Steve, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. New business, BS and A software.
yeah, so BSNA is the suite of software that we use here at the village. So whether it's utility bills or taxes or our receipting that we do, it's all kind of the same system. So basically with BSNA, the way that it works is, depending on what you're doing, there's different modules that kind of interconnect with our ledger system. So for example, utility billing is set up so that it communicates with the other modules that are part of the software. So going back to even me, I think a few years ago, and Kim, I think, has talked about it, over the last probably year and a half as well, is that there's a few things where we think that implementing some additional software could be a big help. The two biggest areas that we've really felt would be helpful would be timesheets, as well as miscellaneous receivables. So with timesheets, essentially that kind of sits on top of the payroll system that we have. So currently what happens is everybody fills out paper time cards. So whether you're in the PD or the Public Works Department, you fill out a paper time card by hand. And then the supervisor has to review that time card and add it all up, and, oh, I can't read this, what is this, So we see a lot of things like that where it creates challenges. And then, of course, there's the data entry side where, once it gets turned over to Kim, Kim has to then take that, do a second check on all of those, and then enter it. I also take a look at it and double check it and double check any entries. So the idea with timesheets is that would be a system that would be available to all of our staff online or on their computers, depending on where somebody works. And then you could actually enter each day what hours you had, what departments you worked in. So with Public Works, for example, you could say I worked 2 hours in parks, 3 hours in water, and 2 hours in sewer. And then it makes it really easy for Jimmy or Chief to be able to say, yep, those hours are right, I confirm that. We can actually track our equipment that way as well too. And then the advantage is that goes right to Kim. Kim can then review it, make sure it looks right, and post it right into payroll. And then for my review, I can obviously look at the same system that Kim's looking at. So I think it would actually cut our amount of time it takes to process payroll in significantly. I'd say at least in half, if not more. And then we have time cards that are digital. And so I think there's a lot of good benefits to that. The other thing that we've been looking at is called miscellaneous receivables. Basically what this would be is it's an invoicing system. So when we look at things like Decatur Day, or as we start getting into this month, rental licenses, there's a number of different scenarios where the village has to bill someone for something. So miscellaneous receivables actually interconnects with our software we would have now, and would allow us to be able to send a bill to someone. And then the nice thing is that with this, it would be actually in our system to where we can track, did that invoice get paid? It's a full, system where the bills are generated automatically, so everything looks consistent. So invoices from the village are all the same. Right now, the best that we have is basically an Excel spreadsheet where we copy and paste an old invoice and update it. So it's really not the most convenient system. In terms of tracking, that all has to be done by hand. So putting a note on a calendar or post-it note somewhere and saying, oh, in 2 weeks, remember to check and see if this got paid. So both of those, I think, would really expand our capabilities quite a bit. With the quote that we had there, you can see that includes the cost of setting up both of the software systems, as well as training for everybody that'll be utilizing those. The total came out to roughly $8,875. And then the annual cost is, I believe it was somewhere around,
Right here.
yep, $715. So, of course, there's a much larger cost on the upfront, to get everything implemented, and then annually it ends up being about $715 thereafter. And I think right now, is it right about 2,000
Yeah.
or so, I think? About 2,200, I think, is what it costs us now for the annual service. But, I think with talking with Kim, the capabilities that we get from having those two modules, I think, would be really helpful.
Any questions from the council? There is no questions, any motion to approve the quote for the BSNA for the timesheets and miscellaneous receivable software as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Steve Pelfrey, any second?
I will second that.
Is it me, Mr. Trustee Mead, is that or no?
Varan.
Trustee Varan,
Varan.
okay, roll call please.
Trustee Benson?
Yes.
Trustee Gunther? Pro Tem Jackson?
Yes.
Trustee Mead?
Yes.
Trustee Pelfrey?
Yes.
Trustee Varian?
Yes.
President Alvar?
Yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is 4th of July.
Yeah, so obviously with 4th of July, we've got a few months yet, but it's getting to be about that time where we normally start to look at trying to get things ready for advertisements, for fireworks, parade planning, etc. The VFW reached out to me and let me know that they were very interested in restarting their 4th of July festivities for this year, and wanted to see where the village's position would be on this. Basically, from what Mr. Overton told me, the idea would be is they'd like to have the parade. They think that since it's outside, we would have an avenue to be able to kind of promote social distancing and things along those lines, and that there's a few less restrictions when you're dealing with outdoor events versus indoor. And then they also mentioned that, of course, they want to try to be in compliance with any requirements that will be out there from MDHHS. So that could include, doing chicken dinners, but maybe it's curbside. So you come by, you get a ticket or something, and then you go and somebody brings it out to you. So they said, well, we wanted to do this, but we didn't want to go forward with something without the village signing off on it. So I said, okay, we'll put it in front of the council to talk about. So I guess the way I look at 4th of July is there's two components really. There's the parade and VFW activities portion, and then the fireworks. Those are kind of the same event, but two different things. It's a difficult decision. Right now, COVID is still spiking here in Michigan, and Michigan is not in a good place as of late. But when you start to forecast out months into advance, it's difficult to know what we're going to be seeing. So it's one of those scenarios where what the VFW basically said was that if we could, we would like to get tentative approval to be able to go forward, and then if something happens where there's a restriction or we're not able to go forward, we can always cancel it at a later date if necessary. That's a little bit easier, I think, when you start looking at the parade and the chicken dinner. Fireworks are a little more challenging in that regard. Once we sign a contract for fireworks, we're a little bit more locked into that, and it's a little harder to be able to cancel that. But by the same token, we don't generally have a centralized location where we're saying, come watch fireworks here. There are certain places where people tend to go to be able to watch them, but I think even in those spots, there's areas where you could social distance and make sure you keep away from others. And obviously more and more people are getting vaccinated as well, so that also kind of plays into that decision. With respect to businesses, one thing that we've done in the past, and we'd probably do the same thing, but we'd amend it a little bit, is prior to last year, when we looked at the fireworks, we would send out letters to local businesses to say, hey, we're gonna be holding a fireworks show. Would you be interested in helping support the fireworks show and requesting a donation? I don't think that in this particular circumstance that's necessarily a bad idea, but I would probably reword that if we were gonna do it, to try to make it clear that we only really want local businesses to do that if you have the capacity. You know, we wanna make sure that you guys are taking care of your employees and your businesses first. You know, of course, if you have the extra resources to donate a few dollars towards the fireworks show, great, but I don't really wanna pressure anybody into something like that. So I think we could be a little more casual about it that way, and you know, it's difficult to forecast what we might get donation-wise, but in terms of the fireworks show, we actually determine the size of that and what we're gonna do there. So it's something where we could scale back the size of the fireworks show if we felt that we were concerned about the cost.
We had money from last year.
And we didn't have one from last year, so, you know, I mean, I think it's still there. I don't really see a big need to, you know, even if donations were smaller, to say no.
Any questions from council? Any opinions?
I think we should move forward with it. I think people are ready.
Yeah, I agree.
One thing, could you, for social distancing for fireworks, could you talk to maybe to the school to open the practice field, you know, football practice fields?
I think it's a good idea.
They can go and actually sit there and, now they you know, they lock them up. I mean, years ago, you know, they used the field, everybody could go walk in there and
Yeah.
sit down and have a, you know, a drink or something with their family. The family sit down, gather and watch fireworks.
Mhm.
Now everything is locked up. Would be nice if you could talk to Patrick and see if they just give us, you have the baseball area,
Mhm.
you know, fields, and maybe the practice football, maybe, you know, if it's possible.
Yeah, I think-
It would help social distancing.
I don't have any problem checking with that with him, and we could even put, you know, if we did do something like that, then we could do some signage and things like that,
Yeah.
kind of promoting healthy practices. I mean, so I think that would be a good thing.
And maybe we'd have somebody maybe clean up after them the next day or something, you know, from our.
Yeah, we could have Public Works assist with
Yeah,
that.
you know, just a football field, you know.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, if there is no more questions, a motion to, number one is approve the tentative, you thought about tentatively, aren't you? You know, the way it is, supposed to be.
I don't even need the word tentatively. I think we should do it.
Yeah, you guys can make whatever motion you'd like. I mean, so you could have just make a motion to approve the 4th of July parade, VFW events, and fireworks.
I'll make a motion to approve the annual 4th of July parade, VFW events, and the July fireworks show.
And I'll second that.
Trustee Jackson, trustee, roll call please.
Trustee Benson,
Yes.
trustee Gunther, Pro Tem Jackson,
Yes.
trustee Mead,
Yes.
trustee Palfrey,
Yes.
trustee Brand,
Yes.
President Hour.
Yes, so motion carries. Next item on the agenda is 100 East Sherwood, MRTMA facility application.
Yeah, so 100 East Sherwood is the location right next to Shortstop. You've probably seen the green Decatur sign that's out there now. They were approved, I believe it was in February of last year, for a provisioning center license through the village, and I was just notified about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago that provisioning center license was issued by the state. So when they had applied last year, basically what they had mentioned was that their goal was to go through the medical licensing first, get the facility to a point where they were able to get that license approved and ready to go, and then seek a recreational license after that. So essentially what they are seeking to do would be to become a marijuana retailer in addition to the provisioning center. So they've submitted an application for that use. Now in this case, the special land use for marijuana facilities has already been issued. So they don't have to really go back through that process again. So with that in mind, also with the fact that it's a MMFLA facility license that's already been granted, you have a lot, I guess you can infer there in terms of their security and operational protocols that those things are already in place and ready to go. So this is a pretty common practice, I think, for a lot of the facilities like in Kalamazoo and Portage, is that you kind of have two business type licenses operating at the same time. So with the medical side, there's reduced taxes and different products that are available, and then on the recreational side, there's a little different procedures and processes to how that goes. But for them to be approved, it would just take an approval of the conditional license here and by the village council, and they could go forward. And then I guess the last thing I'll mention is that the licenses are separate. So it's the same facility, but because of it being a recreational license, they actually pay two fees. So for the village, there's a $5,000 application fee that comes in for the provisioning center side, and then an additional $5,000 fee for the recreational side annually. So there is a bit of a revenue stream there in terms of annual fees that come in also.
Any questions from the council? There is no question, I need a motion to approve the marijuana retailer application for 100 East Shore Street as presented.
I will move to approve the marijuana retail application for
Steve Brand, the second.
I'll second.
Trustee Porphyry. Roll call, please.
Trustee Benson?
Yes.
Trustee Gunther? Pro Tem Jackson?
Yes.
Trustee Mead?
Yes.
Trustee Pelfrey?
Yes.
Trustee Brand?
Yes.
President Howard?
Yes, motion carries. Next item in the agenda is market ban beer investment.
Yep, the title there is wrong on the insert, but basically Zach had stopped here, or had given a presentation last month and talked about the work that Market Van Buren completes and their partnership with the MEDC. And one of the items he noted was the municipal investment that they were seeking from local communities. So we didn't have any decision at the time, it wasn't on the agenda for that, but we've added it for this one. I reached out to a few of the other communities and they're pretty happy with their investment. And I think one of the advantages is that, when we look at things that we invest in from the municipal perspective, we do an annual investment for the conservation district, and the idea is that supports, the health and safety of our community by giving our residents avenues for, recycling household hazardous waste and things along those lines. The idea behind this is it's kind of that same sort of philosophy, but for our local businesses and our economic development. So, a good example of where this comes into play is there's a couple people that have approached a few of our DDA members about a possible business opportunity. And the first step that we take normally in those cases is actually to direct them over to Zach with Market Van Buren, because he's able to look at, are there grants or other opportunities that might work here? What can we leverage from the county development firm to be able to make these things happen? So, the idea with, I think, the local investment is that by contributing funds towards this, they're able to re-leverage those funds back into our communities to help support our businesses. And so, we've seen that, in terms of some of the investment from COVID funds and things along those lines. And just as an example, the other partners that actually contribute already, we've got Bangor City nearby, Lawrence, Lawton, Matawan, Pawpaw. So a lot of our surrounding communities have already signed on to do this as well, and the costs are relatively minimal. For the village of Decatur, it's $1164.61. So, we're talking just over $1,000. What those other communities have done, and what I would propose we would do in this case, would be to commit to that fee structure for a 3-year period. So it'd be 2021 through 2023. And then after that initial 3-year period is over, we can then bring that back up to the council and say, well, what did we see from this? Was our investment in this worthwhile? Did we see economic development across the county and in our community the way that we would have preferred? And then, if it's not on par with what the council may prefer, you can always decide not to keep going after that. But I think from talking with the other communities and the other managers, a lot of people saw a lot of value with the program and thought that the potential benefits were really high and it was a worthwhile thing to do.
Any questions from the council?
I think when he was here, when Zach was here, he had a list of what they had done so far. And I think the thing that concerned me, and I did ask him the question, was the makeup of the types of businesses that were getting the help, and his response was hospitality. We have a lot more than hospitality, so if we're gonna do something like this, we need to make sure that it's spread a little bit more around than just hospitality.
No, I agree, and I guess the only other thing I would add to that is, you know, with the expansion that Midwest Fasteners did, you know, it was about 2 years ago now. You know, we had the IFT that the council voted on, and kind of that whole process. Zach was actually in Market Van Buren, played a big role in that process as well, and they were able to find funding through Brownfield, I think, for, you know, some of the environmental impact studies and some of the things that needed to be completed. So, you know, that was, I guess, one example where, you know, outside of kind of the COVID bubble in some ways where, you know, we saw something as a tangible benefit here in our community. I mean, I think you're right. You know, I think that with the hospitality angle from the COVID funding, I would have liked to have seen that spread to different businesses potentially, you know, I mean, or at least been more diverse, I think, in what they supported, but.
Any more questions? There is no questions or discussions. I need the motion to approve a municipal investment in Market Van Buren as presented.
I'll approve.
Trustee Benson, need a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Moran, roll call please.
Trustee Benson,
Yes.
trustee Gunther, Pro Tem Jackson,
No.
trustee Mead,
No.
trustee Pelfrey,
Yes.
trustee Brand,
Yes.
President Elmore.
Yes. So that's
4 to,
42.
yeah.
Motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda, I need a motion, we're gonna go to closed session for village manager evaluation, so
I'll make the
after
motion to go
the
into
closed session, the public could come back, you know? So I need a,
I'll make the motion to go into closed session.
trustee Jackson, I need a second,
Second that.
trustee Moran, I need a roll call, please.
Trustee Benson,
Yes.
trustee Gunther, Pro Tem Jackson,
Yes.
trustee Mead,
Yes.
trustee Pelfrey,
Yes.
trustee Brand,
Everybody, did a good job and service to our village.
Trustee Mead?
No.
Trustee Pelfrey?
No.
Trustee Jackson?
No,
Trustee Benson?
I'm good, no.
I don't have any comments, so we move on to I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Trustee Mead, I need a second.
Second.
Trustee Moran, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
It was nice seeing everyone again.
Nice.